Welcome back to the deep dive. You know, usually when we sit down at these microphones, we have a stack of dense academic papers or, I don't know, a 50-page industry report in front of us.
Right. We're usually trying to decipher some pretty complex stuff.
Exactly. Complex economic trends or scientific breakthroughs. But today
Today is a little different.
Today is, it's very different.
It is. It is deceptively simple today.
We are looking at a script, specifically a dialogue script designed for English language learners people at that intermediate B1 level.
Right.
And at first glance, you might ask, why are we doing a deep dive into a language lesson? But as I started reading through the source material, specifically episode 3, Regaining Control, I realized this isn't just about vocabulary. It is a Trojan horse.
That is the perfect way to describe it. It's absolutely a Trojan horse. It looks like a lesson on, phrasal verbs and idioms.
Yeah, here's how you say this.
But inside, it is actually a very sharp critique of the modern condition. We are analyzing a tool that teaches English. Yes, but to do that,
right,
it has to teach the learner how to navigate the war between their own mind and the technology they carry in their pocket.
And that is the mission for this deep dive. We aren't here to teach you English.
Right.
Though, you might pick up a few things along the way. We are here to deconstruct how this source material tackles digital addiction.
The methodology.
The methodology. We want to look at the pedagogy. Why do they spell things out? Why is the pacing described as slow and natural?
Which is an interesting combination of words in itself.
It really is. Yeah. And honestly, we need to talk about the Sunday night trap because I felt personally attacked by this script.
I think we all did.
Yeah.
I really do. When the character Mary talks about the time warp, that is a universal experience regardless of your native language.
Completely. Exactly. So for our listeners today, whether you are a native speaker or someone using this to practice your listening skills, we are going to take this slow. We are going to respect the pacing of the source material. We want to be clear. We want to be deliberate.
Which is fitting because deliberate is exactly what this script wants us to be with our technology.
That's a great point. So let's jump into the first major concept the source material tackles. It opens with the hosts, Mary and John, introducing the topic of the mind. And immediately, they identify the enemy of the Sunday night routine.
The Sunday night trap, if you will. The term they use is binge-watch.
Binge-watch. Now, getting the definition out of the way, watching multiple episodes in a row, that is the easy part.
That's straightforward.
But look at how the source material handles this word. They don't just say it. The character John, he stops the conversation to perform a spelling exercise.
He does.
He goes, B-I-N-G-E space, W-A-T-C-H. Why do that? Is it just to kill time?
No, it's a very specific pedagogical technique.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. When you are learning a second language, your brain is often in a state of, high cognitive load.
Right, you're trying to process everything at once.
It's the fire hose effect. You're trying to catch every syllable, translate it in your head, and understand the context all at the same time. By spelling the word out, John is essentially pumping the brakes.
It creates a cognitive gap, like a little space to breathe.
Exactly. It lowers the anxiety. It allows the learner's brain to switch from decoding mode, which is very stressful, to visualization mode.
So you hear the letters and you can almost see the word on a page in your mind.
You see the word in your mind's eye. But there is another layer here. Notice the emphasis on the space.
Oh, yeah, I did notice that. Binge, space, watch.
He really emphasizes it.
Right, he makes a big deal out of the space. Why is that so important?
Because binge is a heavy concept on its own. In English, binge implies a lack of control. Binge eating, binge drinking.
That's never a good thing.
Never. So by separating it from watch, the source is subtly highlighting that the action watching isn't the problem.
Okay.
The modifier binge is the problem. It is a linguistic way of diagnosing the behavior before they even get into the details.
Wow. That is fascinating. It is dissecting the habit by dissecting the word itself.
It really is.
And then Mary, she drops this anecdote that really anchors the definition in reality. She talks about starting an episode at 8:00 p.m. and then boom, it is 2:00 a.m.
The classic time blindness.
Is that what it is called? I've never heard that term.
Well, in flow state psychology, we talk about losing track of time when we're engaged in something challenging, like a hobby or deep work.
And that's usually a good thing.
That's usually good. But here, Mary describes the opposite. She isn't challenged. She is passive. And yet 6 hours they vanish.
6 hours?
gone. And the source asks a really crucial question right after that. Does this make you relaxed? And her answer is the key to the whole script.
No, just tired. And it breaks the myth of relaxation, doesn't it?
It shatters it. We tell ourselves, I worked hard all week, I deserve to relax. So we turn on the TV.
Sure, it's the default.
But true relaxation involves restoration. It should recharge you. What Mary describes isn't restoration, it is depletion. You're starting the next week with an energy deficit.
It just completely destroys the routine. I mean, if you are up until 2 a.m. on a Sunday, your Monday morning is ruined before it even starts.
It's already over.
You're just in survival mode from the second the alarm goes off.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And this leads us to the second major concept, which is it's about the mental state of a binge watcher. It is an active engagement. It is what they call zoning out.
Zone out. Okay, and again, let's look at how the source presents this. They don't just say the phrase.
No, they do the same thing.
They spell it Z-O-N-E space O-U-T.
And I love the visual description Mary gives here. It's so vivid. She says, my body is on the sofa, but my brain is empty.
The brain is empty. That is a terrifying image if you really think about it.
It is, isn't it? It's the separation of body and mind. She explicitly states, I am not really watching. I am just there.
Just there.
It implies a passive existence. You aren't consuming art. You aren't analyzing the plot or the cinematography.
You're not thinking at all.
You are just occupying space in front of a light source. That's it.
And the source material uses a fantastic metaphor here. John calls it junk food for the brain.
They use a perfect analogy for a learner because everyone understands junk food. It crosses cultural barriers completely.
Totally.
We all know that feeling of eating a huge bag of chips. It tastes good in the moment. It is salty. It is crunchy. But 10 minutes later,
you feel gross. You feel awful.
Exactly. You feel full, but you aren't nourished. There is no nutritional value.
Right.
And just like junk food affects your physical health over time, this digital junk food, this zoning out, it affects your mental health.
Which brings us to the consequence. The source introduces a phrasal verb that I think is essential for anyone trying to describe burnout or, just feeling run down. The phrase is take a toll on.
Right. And again, they spell it Takea, P-O-L-L-O-N-N. The definition provided is to slowly hurt or damage something over time.
That slowly part is what makes it so insidious, isn't it? It's not a sudden crash. It's not like you break your leg.
Exactly. It's a slow burn. Mary notes that it doesn't hurt in one day. You don't binge watch one Sunday and wake up with brain damage.
Of course not.
But she says after a week of late night scrolling, you feel heavy and tired.
Heavy and tired. Those are such simple words, but they're so evocative. Everyone knows that feeling.
Yes, and she gets very specific about the consequences.
She does. She mentions it takes a toll on your focus at work. So for the learner listening to this, or for anyone really, we're connecting a leisure activity watching TV directly to professional performance.
Right.
The routine is broken.
The source is building a chain of causality here. It's very logical. Binge watching leads to zoning out.
Okay.
Zoning out acts as junk food for the brain. That junk food takes a toll on your mental energy.
Right.
And the result is a heavy, tired existence where you can't focus.
But wait, it gets darker.
It always does.
It really does. We move from the passive zoning out to something a bit more active and a lot more negative. The source introduces the term doom scrolling.
Yes. This is a term that has really defined the last few years, hasn't it?
Completely.
And they spell it D-O-O-M. The source script takes care to define doom on its own first, which I think is smart.
Why do you think they do that?
Well, doom is a very powerful, almost archaic-sounding word. It defines it as something very bad or a terrible fate. It's not just sad, it's terrible fate.
So when you combine doom with scrolling, you get this image of sliding your thumb down a screen toward a terrible fate. It is almost poetic in a dark way.
That is a visceral image. And John defines it as scrolling through negative news. He lists examples. Bad weather, sad stories, scary politics.
It is the trifecta of misery.
It is. It really is. And Mary asks the question we all asked ourselves in those moments.
So why do we do it?
Yeah. If it makes us feel miserable, why do we continue? Why don't we just put the phone down?
And what is the answer provided in the text? What's John's theory?
John offers a psychological insight. And it's a really compassionate one, I think. He says, the brain is looking for information, but it finds too much doom.
That is fascinating. It frames the behavior not as self-destructive initially, but as an instinct gone wrong.
Right. Evolutionarily speaking, our brains are wired to scan the horizon for threats. A lion in the grass, a storm on the horizon.
Right. Is there danger? I need to know.
Information about threats keeps us safe. It's a survival mechanism. So when we scroll, our brain is thinking, I'm just checking for lions.
But the algorithm is designed to give us a million lions, one after another.
Exactly. It feeds us threat after threat after threat. The brain's primitive part is satisfied that it found the threat, but the emotional center is just completely overwhelmed.
It creates a feedback loop of anxiety. The more you look for danger, the more danger you find, which makes you feel like you need to look for more danger.
And the result, as the source states, is that it makes you feel miserable.
It's a self-inflicted misery, which is the worst kind.
And this leads to the idiom of the episode, a double-edged sword.
Oh, I love a good idiom. They're so hard for learners, but so useful.
They are. And this one really captures the nuance. Technology isn't purely evil in this script.
No, it's not a Luddite manifesto.
Not at all. It gives information that is one edge of the sword. That is good. We need to know the weather. We need to know what's happening in the world.
But it also gives stress. That is the other edge. And you can't pick up the sword without risking a cut from either side.
Exactly. So we have the problem, binge watching and doom scrolling. We have the symptoms, zoning out and feeling heavy.
The diagnosis is complete.
Right. Now, the source material pivots to the solution. And I think this is where the routine reset really kicks in.
Okay, so the solution proposed is a digital detox.
Let's unpack that term. They spell this one out too. DIGITALDETOX.
And Mary defines detox in a very physical, almost biological way. She says a detox is stopping bad things from entering the body. So a digital detox is a break from all screens.
It is interesting that she uses a biological metaphor.
Why do you say that?
Usually we talk about detoxing from alcohol or sugar or caffeine. By applying it to digital inputs, she is validating that technology is a substance. It is something we consume, and it is something we can abuse.
That's a great point. It's not just a bad habit, it's an addiction to a substance, in a way.
The script frames it that way, yeah.
And John, being the good student in this scenario, he decides to try it. But he doesn't just say, I didn't look at my phone.
No, the detail is key.
He gives us a specific tactical detail. He put his phone in a kitchen drawer for 4 hours.
The specificity there is so important. Behavioral psychologists call this friction.
Friction, like making it harder to do something.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
If the phone is in your pocket, the friction is zero. It takes zero effort to check it. If it is on the table, the friction is low.
A little bit of effort you have to reach.
Right. But if it's in a drawer inside another room, you have to make a conscious choice to stand up, walk to the kitchen, and open the drawer.
You have to work for the dopamine hit.
Exactly. And that little bit of extra effort is often enough to break the automatic loop. He physically removed the temptation from his immediate environment.
And 4 hours, I mean, in 2026, 4 hours is a significant amount of time for a modern digital user. That's an eternity for some people.
It is. And the reaction he describes is, well, it is hilarious because it is so true. He talks about the first 30 minutes.
Right. He doesn't say it was easy.
Far from it.
He describes experiencing a low-key panic.
Low-key panic. Such a great phrase.
Let's spell that one out. Even though the source doesn't explicitly spell it in the dialogue, I think it's worth dwelling on. LOW-KEY.
It is such a useful modifier, especially in modern English. Low-key means it isn't shouting, it isn't a full-blown emergency, but it is there.
It's a hum in the background.
It is. He defined it as a small, quiet feeling of, oh no.
And here is my favorite detail from the production notes. The AI brother tips included in the source.
Oh yes, those are great.
They suggest emphasizing the awkward feeling of touching one's pocket.
Yes, looking for a phone that isn't there. It is phantom limb syndrome for the digital age. We've all done that.
It really grounds the experience. We have all done that pat-down check. Phone, keys, wallet. And when the phone isn't there, even if you put it away on purpose, there is that split second of adrenaline.
That is the withdrawal symptom. That is the brain saying, where is my signal? Where is my connection? Where is my external brain?
I think it is really brave of the script to include this detail. They could have just said, I put my phone away and felt great, but they didn't. They acknowledged the pain.
That is what makes it credible. Any learner listening to this knows that putting the phone away is hard.
Of course.
If John just said it was easy, the listener wouldn't believe him. By admitting the low-key panic, he gains the listener's trust. He's saying, I get it. This is tough.
But John pushes through. He survives the low-key panic. He survives the silence. And what happens after the first hour? What's on the other side?
The sensory world comes back. This is the reset part of the routine. The source describes him looking out the window. He hears birds. He reads a real book made of paper.
Emphasizing made of paper. It is tactile. It is real. It's not a screen.
Think about the contrast. A screen is flat, smooth, glowing, and usually emitting that harsh blue light.
Right.
A window has depth. Birds have organic, unpredictable sound. Paper has texture and even a smell. He is moving from a simulated world back to the real, physical world.
And this leads to the final vocabulary revelation of the episode. He calls the experience an eye-opener.
EYE-OPENER.
And the script defines that as something that makes you see the truth clearly.
So what was the truth? What was the truth John saw in that moment?
The truth was that he didn't need the phone every minute. He felt more present.
That word present, that is the goal of the entire routine reset, isn't it? It is about being in the room, not on the server.
Precisely. And Mary summarizes the lesson beautifully at the end. She acknowledges the reality of our lives. She says, technology is here to stay.
Right, which is important.
She says we can't throw our phones in the ocean.
Though sometimes we really want to.
Oh, we do so badly. But she concludes, you are the boss. The phone is just a tool.
That is the core message, regaining control. It isn't about becoming a Luddite and living in a cave. It is about remembering who is in charge, you or the device.
Now, before we wrap up the narrative arc, I think it is really important to look at the how of this source material again.
The mechanics of it.
Yeah, the mechanics. We mentioned the production notes, specifically these AI brother tips.
Yes, let's talk about that. This script is designed for learners, and there's some very specific techniques used here that I think are fascinating from a production standpoint.
We mentioned the spelling interaction we have been mimicking. The note suggests that Mary reads the word and John spells it slowly like a student. Why like a student?
It's about empathy. Why is that effective? It goes back to safety. By hearing the letters spaced out B-I-N-G-E, it gives the learner's brain time to catch up.
Right, it breaks that fire hose of information we talked about.
It does. But it also models the behavior of a student. It shows the learner that it is okay to stop and spell things out. It validates the learning process itself. It's like John is saying, I'm learning this with you.
It normalizes the struggle of learning. And it creates a rhythm. It isn't just talk, talk, talk. It is concept, pause, spell, pause, definition.
Which brings us to the second technique, pacing. The rule found in the source is slow and natural.
Slow and natural. That sounds like a contradiction. Usually when we speak slowly, we sound like robots. Hello, how are you?
Exactly. That is slow, but it's completely unnatural. The goal here is to keep the intonation and the emotion, the surprise of the 2.0 a.m. realization, the panic of the missing phone, but to stretch the time just enough so the learner doesn't get lost.
So it's about prosody. Is that the right word?
That's a great word for it, prosody. The music of the language, the ups and downs, the rhythm, the stress on certain words. If you speak too fast, the learner loses the music.
And if you speak too slow and robotically, you kill the music.
Yeah, you kill the music. Slow and natural preserves the music, but lowers the tempo, like playing a song at 80 beats per minute instead of 120.
That's a perfect analogy. And the repetition. The source mentions pauses of 5 seconds or even 15 seconds for the listener to repeat phrases.
Right. Like after Mary says, I often zone out in front of the TV. The script explicitly leaves a 15-second gap for that sentence.
Why so long?
It invites the listener to stop being a passive consumer like Mary on the sofa and become an active participant in their own learning.
It forces them to avoid the zone out while they're listening.
Precisely. You can't zone out if you have to repeat the sentence. You have to be engaged. You have to use your mouth, form the words. It makes the learning physical.
And finally, the source also includes a word tour at the end, a little recap.
Yes.
It goes through the pairs, binge watch and zone out, take a toll on and doom scrolling, double-edged sword and digital detox, and finally, eye-opener.
It is a classic consolidation technique. You have gone on a journey, and now you look back at the map to see where you have been. It helps move the vocabulary from short-term memory, where it's fragile, to long-term memory.
So what does this all mean for us? I mean, we've walked through a script about digital addiction designed for people learning English. What's the big takeaway?
I think it means that language learning is a vehicle for life learning. The source material isn't just trying to teach vocabulary, it is trying to improve the learner's quality of life.
That's a big claim.
But think about it. By learning the word digital detox, You are also learning the concept of a digital detox. You are giving the learner the language to describe their own struggle.
It empowers them. If you can name the problem, I am doom scrolling, you can start to fix the problem. If you don't have the words for it, it's just this vague, awful feeling.
Exactly. Name it to tame it, as the psychologists say.
So it is a 2-for-1 deal. You get better English and you get a better Sunday night routine.
And the call to action in the source is very empowering. I love the closing line. 2026 is your year to win. It frames the learning process and the routine reset as a victory to be achieved.
Regaining control. That is the title and that is the vibe. Whether it is controlling your vocabulary or controlling your screen time, it is about agency.
And that is a message that translates into any language.
Absolutely. So as we close out this deep dive, I want you to think about that kitchen drawer. I want you to think about the low-key panic.
And maybe, just maybe, think about what is waiting for you on the other side of that panic.
What's past the first 30 minutes?
The birds, the window, the paper book.
The eye-opener.
The eye-opener.
Thank you for listening. We hope this deep dive helped you zone in rather than zone out. We'll see you next time.